Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a game of two halves. This is one of these videos I don't really want to do, but spoke to my mate Kevin about it, who I'll introduce in a minute, and we decided we should do it, really. We're both avid West Ham fans and been a bit disgusted with the situations that's gone on with this week. Before I start, Kev, welcome to you. How are you, my friend?
Very well, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Martin.
Family all good? Family all
Yeah,
good?
mate. Yeah, they're good.
Guys, we're going to start. There was rumours going around a few years back that certain things were going on within our club, and it was also rumours going around that come out that there was a Premier League owner that was going to be investigated, and there was a certain amount of anonymity on it, and we weren't allowed to speak about it. Lo and behold, around about 2 months ago, the anonymity was lifted in court, and it was named as David Sullivan. We was all told we was going to see what was supposed to come out. I've got to be honest, there had been rumours before, all alleged, obviously, allegations. But we watched the Panorama programme on Monday evening, and basically it's historical allegations of abuse, of taking advantage of young girls. Did you see the programme, Kev?
No, I've not watched it, mate. I've read up. I've done a lot of reading on it on different websites, and I'm not talking about the Mail. I'm talking about the Times, the Guardian, the BBC, that are all linked to that program.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand with the Panorama program. I sat and watched it with my wife. We was out, and we wanted to come home to watch it, I suppose, along with another 60,000 fans. And a lot of people said to me the next day, "Oh, mate, like it weren't as bad, the Panorama, because obviously the articles in the Guardian and the Times." Now, apparently, the Panorama was trying to get it out for a couple of years, but Sullivan kept running them around in court. Eventually, the BBC ran out of money to keep fighting the case, so then they joined up with the Guardian and the Times, who had the money, obviously, to see it through. Now, when people said that to me, you know what I mean, I thought to myself, I listened to it. If you're in that sort of industry, mate, please tell me if I'm wrong. I remember as a youngster, my granddad, I had a lot of respect for my granddad, and he always used to, and I've got to go to this, but he always read the Daily Mirror, right? So as I got older and I went to college, like 2 years ago, you roll up your newspaper, don't you? Read it on the train going to college. And I always used to read the Daily Mirror. So I weren't one of those that ever started reading The Sun. So let's bring them into it first, yeah? And obviously it come out that they started doing a page 3, and there was lots of young girls showing their breasts on that. And I mean, there's quite a few of them made a load of money, i.e., like Sam Fox, Linda Lusardi, quite a few others. Now, if you're going to go into that industry, yeah, am I right in thinking, what Sullivan was asking for? He was basically asking for sexual favours for a job for quite a few. It was on the Panorama programme. Yeah, it's going to sound a bit ridiculous, but do you think that's normal in that sort of industry? That sort of goes on?
In that industry, it does. But you've got to put in the context the guy we're talking about. And like you said, it's alleged. But we're talking about here a guy that, made adult films, magazines, chat lines, papers. Didn't he? I think he set up the Sunday Sport as well, didn't he? Or the Daily Sport, whatever it was. And you remember the News of the World? I mean, News of the Screws, as they used to call it. Even they branded him in the 70s, I think it was, David Sullivan is the newest purveyor of filth. So that's the industry he's in. Do people really expect anything else from that sort of person, really?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to agree with you on that. He did go away, didn't he, for making money off prostitution. And
71 days. It was a 9-month sentence. I mean, he was also fined for publishing obscene material.
Yeah, I want to come back to this now because we're talking late 70s, 80s. A lot of this started. What I don't understand is at the time we had a government. I don't care what government was in power at them, but it was quite easy for them to regulate what could go in the newspapers and what couldn't go in. So they could have stopped it. You know what I mean? What eventually leads to stalkers, etc. Now, on the Panorama, we're discussing the Panorama, and we'll come to the other allegations in a minute. Eventually, I don't remember the name, but apparently he's working on 5 Live now. He said to Sullivan, "Look, let's get 15-year-olds on, and we'll show pictures of them crossing their arms, covering it, and going, look, boys, look what you can have when these girls are 16. And apparently when they were 16, they'd go on, they'd show their breasts, but they'd also open up phone lines going, what would you like to do to these girls? Mate, some of the parents took their children to the interviews. Now, you've got a daughter, I've got daughters. Mate, I got no, if that is the way people want to make their money, you know, as glamour models, as they like to be known at the time, that was their choice. But when you're 15, your parents, for one, should have gone, you're not doing it. You want to do it when you're 18, there's nothing I couldn't stop you. But if I took my daughter, right, hypothetically, I did take my daughter, and they went to Sullivan's house, and Sullivan says, well, you wait here, I'm going in another room. And we all know the allegations. Mate, are the parents, the young, especially the girls who were 15, and I'm talking about the girls that took their parents to Sullivan's house. They don't forget, we've got a load of girls that run away from home. Some of these girls needed money. I mean, no doubts, like a lot worse things happened to some of these kids, right? And we're not even going to get to what happened apparently at these homes that they ran. Mate, am I wrong in thinking the parents must be a little bit complicit in this, regardless of what Sullivan
Mate, absolutely. And it comes down to money and fame. You know, what type of parent would let their daughter do that? I mean, like you said, I got daughters, granddaughters, and, you know, I'm a bit like you. You know, even now, if you go on a beach and, you know, my daughter, I'm looking at, no, cover up. You know what I mean? That's the type of people we are. Whereas others, they see the money and they see the fame and see the glory. And people like Sullivan, you know, and then this is not an accusation. He preys on it. He's, you know, that's how he makes his money.
Mate, I understand what you're saying. But, you know, what I'm trying to get is at that point, right, whoever was in charge when these teens, right, 15 they was, yeah, and they said you can bear all when you're 16. Should the government have not stopped in at that point and says this is wrong? You know, there's lots going on about what goes on in other countries and how young girls are allowed to get married at certain ages. We've had all this with grooming gangs around different parts of the country that was covered up. We've had it with MPs, with young boys from years and years ago. But yet we was allowing, right, when I say we as a country, was allowing 15-year-old girls to go onto national newspapers, which the sport then at that point was valued at 300 million. He did sell it years later for 40 million. I just don't understand why there weren't a regulatory board and the government didn't get involved. I went, no, you're not putting these youngsters in. I've no idea what some of the other girls who was in the Sun, what ages they went out, because we're specifically talking about the owner of our football club, Davidson. Do you think the government should have stepped in at that point?
Absolutely. That morals and laws, you know, there's a really grey area between the two. You know, how do you stop someone? How can you legislate someone like Sullivan, stopping saying, well, this is a 15-year-old, and when she's 16, legally enough to show her chest, she can. How do you stop that?
Because you make it law, Kev. You shut the bloody paper down. You know,
like they did now. Like they did the news of the world.
But we all know what he did, Morgan, you know, when he was phone hacking people, you know, and that ended up getting shut down. My point was, look, none of this was right. What I'm trying to say is none of this was right. But going forward, I'm hoping, like everything you do in history, you learn from it, right? You really, it's made me so much angry with this as more allegations come out, which we talk about in a minute. But I just think when that was going on with the girls, and some of the phone calls, mate, they've wrote down what, you know, if you want to, I'm not even going to repeat it on here.
Yeah, don't repeat it.
But it's not, no.
We've got imagination.
It's just wrong. Yeah, it's just wrong. I just think that was wrong. Now, the Panorama programme finished. And a lot of people said to me, well, it weren't as bad. It was as bad. It was as bad if you've got daughters. All
right, we're not, you know, we're not going to digress to country morals, which I think have disintegrated. I don't think they've gone. I mean, they've disintegrated in a lot of ways. But in the context of what you're saying, and Sullivan and West Ham, this extends to 77 clubs, at least 77 clubs. The FA were warned about this back in the 90s, even maybe the 80s. There was a report out by a guy called Clive someone, a QC at the time, and the FA were too slow to act, and yet it's still happening. A family member of mine who was a professional footballer, I'm not going to say his name or the club, was groomed and covered up, not once, twice. So it's not just West Ham, and it's not just Sullivan. It's I think to solve this, we need to go outside of football, and we need to go right to the top and say, look, this is what we want. How many people will write to the authorities, whatever they want, whether it's the FA, whether it's their local MP or their local council, say, look, this is going on. We need to stop it.
Mate, I agree with how many people, if there's a young girl begging on a street because she's been abused in some home, some foster care home she's been put in, how many people walk by her and not giving up? She's got to do something.
Out of 100?
I think as a society, mate. But I mean, at the moment, we're talking about Sullivan. Let me get on to what we said, happens with Sullivan. Now, this for me brings in West Ham as a club. Yeah. In 2023, which only just come out yesterday, apparently something happened. Yeah. Right. Something happened and someone was offered money to do something.
Excuse me.
A young female, basically. And the FA and West Ham have come out and said that, now, I don't know who made the decision. Was it the club? Was it the FA? Now, bear in mind, Sullivan's the owner. Yeah, he's got more shares than anyone else. So he's been the owner for God knows how many years now. They come out and says, this never come out in the public, that David Sullivan was not allowed to have anything to do with the women's team, and he wasn't allowed anywhere near the youth and academy teams. Now, in 2023, this happened now, mate. We've waited for this to come out with the, through the Panorama program. Should us as a club let's go to the FA first. At that point, should the FA have said, listen, mate, you've got people doing tours all around that stadium. They've all got kids. They've all got young girls. If this is true, these allegations, then he's got to come away from the club till he's proven. Because I think the FA and also now, the people who was involved in West Ham in 2023 who made these decisions are now complicit in everything that he's done.
Yes, and the FA. Isn't there a code of conduct or they look into people before they become owners of clubs, before their bids are accepted? It's part of the FA, and I can't remember what they call it now. So they look into you as a person, character. So at that point, they should have said, you need to get out and you need to sell that stake. Because they have the power to do it, I believe.
Well, they do, mate. But what I don't understand at the moment, obviously, there's rumours it's either 40% or 37%. There was rumours a while back that Sullivan had 37.5%, but he's supposedly
38.3%, I think he's got. Something like that.
But supposedly they were supposed to both going to have a while back 40% Kretinsky and him. Whether this happened or not, I don't know. And I'm going to come to him in a minute, by the way, who's now going to step up and apparently run the club. At that point, and I'm talking everyone in that club, we had 4 or 5 women running the women's team, including someone who has come out and distanced herself and said, I knew nothing of these allegations. This woman was his girlfriend for years. Karen Brady must have known something that was going on with what Sullivan was up to, mate. Must have.
Well, she knew about it in 2023.
100%.
Yeah. Because unless she had her head in the sand, which I very much doubt, because she's quite sharp. Whatever you think of her as a person, she's a very sharp businesswoman. And she was at the club. She was running the club, so she'd have known about that. So why didn't she go then? Or force him out?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, mate. I mean, there was quite a few women there who knew that. I mean, there's quite a few gone. Now, I couldn't understand why, if no one's not a West Ham fan, why Brady didn't leave about 4 or 5 weeks ago with a couple of, I think, 4 others in the financial side. I couldn't understand why they didn't wait till the end of the season. It made no sense. And now it obviously does make sense because they didn't want to get dragged into this. Surely there's a way now, because obviously he's still. Let's say it's 37, because we don't know. It's either 37 or 40.
But according
Let's
to the press,
say now that he's
38.8. And in,
yeah, but let's say Sons have got
Yep.
proxy votes. Should they be allowed, or should they say to Sullivan, no, mate, you're not allowed anywhere near West Ham and your voting rights are gone unless you clear your name?
Yeah. I think so. No, it's going back to the start of the, the podcast. We're not talking about a character of high moral esteem, are we? So this would have been known right from the start. What he was about his character. I'm not saying they knew about these allegations, but they knew what type of person they were dealing with. The FA knew what type of person he was, and still allowed him to take control of the club. So it's not just West Ham, mate. It's the FA, and above the FA is the Minister for Sports, Arts, and Culture. So it goes right to the top. They would have known about this, as they knew about others in walks of life. But what does it do for West Ham as a club? What does it say about West Ham as a club now, then, and going forward?
Mate, I think it's dragged our name through the mud. The last 4 or 5 seasons, I just want to take you back, because I think a lot of the media have got a lot to answer for. When we won that Conference Cup in 2023, and all the media come out and they went, look what Sullivan's brought you. He told you when he left Upton Park he was going to bring you and win you European football. The cup weren't even invented when we left Upton Park. The Conference Cup weren't even there. So, like, we're going to be major contenders. Mate, I'm so angry today.
Mate,
I can't tell you how angry.
Mate, it was a great cup win. We all celebrated. We're European champions.
No, but Kev, let me go back to my point, right?
But
when we got rid of Moyes, Kev, when we got rid of Moyes, to a man, Talk Sport, all the BBC pundits, all the ITV pundits, they all said, look, what do West Ham want? What is the West Ham way? You should be glad that Sullivan and Brady are at your club. Now, the almighty Talk Sport, who like to be the mouths of, like, are you telling me that none of them knew about Sullivan? And they're preaching to us what we should be thankful for, a man with historical child abuse, and let alone we're only touching base on this, mate. We're at the right at the bottom. If you're thinking Canary Wharf, mate, we're on the first floor of the what's going to come out of that Sullivan. They was all complicit in it, mate.
But they were in every other case. Newcastle, Man City, Chelsea, and loads of other clubs. Stoke City. If you ask someone in our age bracket, what does Crew Alexandra represent to you? And the first thing is child sex abuse. Because I remember those days. And I'm not going to say...
Well, he went away, didn't he? That guy went away. It was Barry someone, weren't he?
It was Barry Bennell. Barry Bennell. And he was at Man City.
When that was going to come out, Kev, they reckon, when it was all going to come out of the kids he abused, they reckon it could be one of the reasons why Gary Speed hung himself.
Yes.
Because he was abused by him.
I heard that.
Yeah. But my point of the matter is, Kev, how could these news outlets tell us as West Ham fans that go over week in, week out, right? We're not on big money in that area, in West Ham. Yes, it's changing, the demographics changing, and there's people coming into the area. We're going spending our money week in, week out. He put 50 million in at one point, him and Gold, and then they took the money out when Kretinsky paid the money back. What I'm trying to say is they lectured us on what we should have been grateful for Sullivan and Brady. And now, look who was running the club. That's what I'm trying to get at. If you're going to lecture us, then lecture the people that's running the club on everything they've done in their past.
Who pays the piper?
Oh, exactly. It's the money, isn't it? It's all about
the money. It's the money. Talk Sport, Rely, BBC, although they're a standalone organisation, it's supposed to be unbiased and independent. But the news outlets, they all need football to fill their back pages. And, I guarantee within a couple of weeks, you won't read anything about this.
I do think it's going to be. Oh, mate,
as you did many others, and it's not just football; it's walks of life. You know, for me, yeah, it's happened. They need to deal with it. For me, as a West Ham fan, you know, how do the board move the club forward? They have to take decisive action. They have to force him out, and they have to look into it, and they have to do it independently and say what went wrong. How can we help these people, and how can we stop it happening again?
I'd like to know who blew the whistle.
Happen.
No, but I'd like to know who blew the whistle. What's brought this to the fore? What has brought this to the fore now? We know he's been. You know, I'll tell you, mate. I can't say what I want to say on here, but I'll tell you what. There, I've got a theory of why this has come out now. I really have, but I don't want to mention any names. Kevin, my main fear.
Mate, listen, just going back to that point and saying no names, but it's a business thing, isn't it? It's power play.
Then I don't need to say anymore.
You don't need to say anymore. It's power play.
Yeah.
But, exactly. But like, I'll go back to what the point I made just now. How do West Ham address this now? And other clubs can learn from it. But how do West Ham address it and move forward?
How did the Premier League address it, Kev? We've had all this with owners playing.
The Premier League. I said the Premier League. They do have. You have to be of. I can't remember what they call it now, but you have to be moral, outstanding character to buy into a football club. They have all these rules. 2023, 2023. They knew then he wasn't a person of outstanding character. So how is he allowed to continue at the club?
I think that needs to come out and be proven or not proven. And we know money talks, and we know like people get offered money, they will retract their statements.
It is out though. With regard to the FA, it's out. They knew, and it's documented. They knew in 2023 because he wasn't allowed to go near the women's team or the youth team. They knew then in 3 years ago.
Mate, what is the fascination with men, like especially older men, with younger girls, right? Do you think you can, mate, listen, you know where I live. I live about 30, 40 minutes from Benidorm, and I've seen people drunk as a lord, they might be in their 50s, 60s, look like a barrel, and they think they can walk out and talk with a 16-year-old girl. We've all got daughters, mate, like we've said before, right? These kids have got, if they get, what things happen to them, it scars them for life. These kids are our next generation. What we've got to do is learn to care. I'm worried at the moment, mate, with everything that goes on TV. When you see things happening on TV, people think it's acceptable. People just think, it don't matter, it's acceptable. When we see young girls in the 70s and 80s covering themselves, waiting to come out, I never bought it. I never bought the sport. I never bought the scum, because you could read it in about a minute and you could do the crossword in about a minute. It weren't my cup of tea. But it become acceptable. So when Sullivan jumped on the band, let's not let David Gold off this. He had a shot, the Ann Summers shot, and he was involved. And obviously they were partners for over 40 years. He must have known what he was up to. He must have known. Yeah. But do you think society in general, Kev? I'm serious now, because we know we've had a young.
I've had conversations.
He's just been bought on it.
You know my wife, Sonia. Her degree was on behaviour and social conditioning, and it started as social conditioning. Back in the 70s, it wasn't acceptable to walk around showing your midriff. Now you walk around your local town, and you've virtually got no clothes on. If you go into shops, you look on the TV, you go onto TikTok. It's social conditioning. They're being conditioned that way.
100%, mate. I said it. The more you look at your TV, you wouldn't see people kissing on it years ago when we were kids. The watershed, etc. Now you're getting people murdered on the likes of 7:30 on Coronation Street, mate. Life's changing. Any book you buy now, mate. But it ain't funny, right? Because I'm a great believer, right? I'm a great believer that we've all got a part to play in this now. Going forward, we've all got a part. Let's not turn our heads. I'll turn my head when I see a 50-year-old with a 14-year-old. Didn't know what he was doing at the time. It come out when she was 16 that he'd been seeing her since she was 14. At that point, I should have gone. And I have to live with that and gone to the police. It turned out a mother knew. You know what I mean? But maybe I should have gone at that point and reported it. What I'm trying to say is, going forward, if we see these young kids struggling, you know, not just girls, because I'm quite sure it happened to boys, young boys as well, that's been abused money. All pop stars, you know, I remember the Take That lads. I'm not just picking them. They said they'd be on stage and they'd be going to the bouncers, bring them back to the stage. We had the Operation U Tree. Do you remember a few years ago?
Yes.
We pulled out Freddie Starr, Davidson, and all that for historical. It shouldn't be historical. We should have police groups in it. Now, I follow a guy on YouTube called John Wedger. He used to be a policeman in the Met Police, and he was on Vice. And he pulled someone one day and took her in and all that. Like, got talking to her. Next thing he didn't know what department of the police they was. They turned up the station where she was, and they went, "She's got to go." He went, "What do you mean she's got to go?" He went, "You can't talk to her. You can't do nothing." He went, "Well, no, I want her because she's told me things." And he went, "No, they're covered." And it was turned out it was dealing with an MP, and he was not. And his children was threatened. What are we doing in society? Mate, I do want to get back to West Ham. Could this be a deck of cards, mate, that's going to take West Ham years and years to go? We know we've been relegated, you know. I mean, if it's true that this Kretinsky supposedly has put in 90 million and he wants it. Now, we know he's just an investor. Right, he's just an investor. He is not in. Anyone who thinks Kretinsky is in this for West Ham is grossly wrong. We know Claren Brady didn't get on with Sadiq Khan or anyone at the LDDC who owns the London Stadium. They reckon, like, you know, he wants to take more of an interest. For me, the only reason he will want to take more of an interest is if we buy that ground and he can knock it down and build a 30, 40, 50,000 seat stadium and have all the land around it. Do you see this being? Can you imagine the grief West Ham fans are going to get next year, mate, off the away fans?
Oh, man. It's going to happen. No matter where we go, it's going to happen. But Kretinsky is a businessman. Like you said before, you know, he buys disused coal mines, turns them round. Oil, he's into oil and gas. He's into everything. And he's turned it round. He's coming to West Ham. He sees something that nobody else sees that we can't see at the moment. So let's focus on West Ham now, how we get past it. But I think the best thing that can happen for West Ham is that he's outed as soon as possible, and it is made public. And West Ham, if they are complicit, they put their hands up and people help to account so we can move forward.
Okay. Mate, I think anyone who was there in 2023 who knew
the FA
to go.
The
100%. Yeah. Maybe we need someone to regulate the FA, mate.
Well, isn't that down to Lisa Nandy now in her department? You know, Lisa Nandy of the Labour Party, they've got their skeletons with regards to the grooming gang, suddenly want answers about David Sullivan. So it goes right to the top. But how do West Ham move forward? How do you think they should move forward?
Mate, how I think we should move forward is we've got to get someone independent in and go, listen, who knew about this in 2023 for a start? Listen, I do think quite a few people from years ago, ex-players, you know, who do all the corporate thing, you know, yeah, it's bunts for them, you know. I mean, we thought Mark Noble would change things round when he first left. You know, we all loved Mark Noble. When he went into the boardroom as such, we thought he would change things for us. Probably just kept his mouth quiet to keep a good job and earn good money. But I actually believe that anyone...
How do you know he's not being silent, mate?
I think he has been silenced.
Yeah, I mean, legally, if you're silenced, there's nothing you can do. But if you get
I don't think people want to say anything, Kev. I think it's a panarama. It's all about
No, I'm with you. So it'll take one or two people. But it's come out now, so it's going to have to happen. And for West Ham, like I say, when we go down, when we start travelling around, you know, that's stuck with our club now, isn't it?
Mate, I went out just nothing nowhere as bad as Sullivan. I went out with a mate of mine I used to work with, Geordie Steve, would call him, Sunderland fan, and he went to me, come out with beer with me a few years ago. Do you remember when Adam Johnson went away for what he did?
Yeah. Wasn't it Sheffield United he went to afterwards?
Now, we was in this pub. There's only about 7 or 8 people in there. Steve was in the cut of Sunderland fan, and there was this bloke. Yes, he was a Newcastle fan, but he was gnawing in my mate's face, going, effing paedophiles, you're all effing. And I'm looking at this bloke going, mate, you're talking about not the club, you're talking about Adam Johnson, right? What's it got to do with him? And then he was at me, mates. I said, Steve, let's either throw this bloke through the window or go somewhere else because I can't have it. And that was one bloke doing that to him. Can you imagine that the away fans are going to have a field day with us? Mate, I do think the club need to bring in some sort of regular, and the FA bringing in subs, and they should say, listen, who knew? Whether you ever get down to the truth or not, I don't know. I think Sullivan is finished within our club, though, mate. I think he's finished.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, you say the FA have got to do something when they're part of the problem and not the solution. Where do you go? Where do football fans go? Who do they look up to now? Now, you know, West Ham fans, you know, Chelsea fans have had it, Villa fans have had it. We can go on. There were 77 clubs that come out in the Metropolitan Police independent report. 77 clubs across all spectrums of the pyramid, down to, you know, non-league. It was happening. And it's still going on. So,
what would you like to see happen at West Ham? Would you want all those who knew in 2023 cleared out? Should go with Sullivan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's got to be a clear out. And if that means it, you know, it puts our club in, you know, on the rack and we go down again, at least you can hold your heads up high and go, you know, we've got a decent football club. We've got decent support. We've got decent management. We've got decent backroom staff. And you can rebuild. No one's done that yet. They've outed individuals, Barry Higgins, Bob Higgins, Barry Bennell, and you know, I can say their names because they've been convicted, and there are others that we can't mention. But unless they take a stand now, so hopefully this is the straw.
I hope so, mate. Mate, listen, we know it's come out with a Me Too movement.
I've got no faith in it, mind.
Say that again, mate.
I've got no faith in the right.
No, I ain't, mate. Listen, we knew this happened in the film industry. You know, I remember going back years ago, I had favourite actors like he did, and Rock Hudson said it happened to him on the casting couch. I mean, go back. I mean, Shirley Temple, like she was a film star in the 20s and 30s, and when her and her mum went an audition, she went in a room, and one of the directors pulled his old bill out. She went in a room at like 15 or someone, and she just said, I started laughing. This has gone on from time immemorial. What I'm trying to say is, as a society, we need to make it not acceptable no more. This could be any of our children. Any of our children go for a job somewhere and something like this happens if you want a job. And I think it's wrong. As a club, I think this is the worst time ever in our history. Yeah, I can't see. And I just hope we don't end up going. Listen, there's no what's name's come up yet.
And it's nothing to do with football, unfortunately.
No, I agree. Yeah, it's terrible. Mate, how about when all the everyone wants to sue? When all that starts coming, because there's going to be people coming out the woodwork here, there, and everywhere. Mate, so we've agreed we'd like to have a clear out. Anyone who knew in 2023, who do you think, or what happens with Sullivan's shares?
I'm not sure what they do in this situation. I don't think he'd be forced to sell in a direct way. I think he'd be encouraged, you know, inverted commas. And I think he's looking to get out now anyway. I think it's more for him is self-preservation than honesty and accountability. Self-preservation. You know, he's got those shares. You know, the family legacy in terms of money. They're going to want to try and protect that.
Is there not a way the government can say, right, they're your shares? They're your shares, but you're away from West Ham at the moment. All right, let's make that he's got 40 to make it simple. They go, there's your 40. You're not allowed in there having nothing to do with the day-to-day.
I'm going back, and if you've got your screen up and you can do a quick search on the FA and the standards you have to achieve to become an owner while I'm going through it. But I think they have the way and the means now to force him out, and I can't remember what it's called. It's the and I'm sure maybe some of the listeners will know. Some of the people watching this will know what it's called, but it's definitely you have to pass a standard.
Well, it weren't set very high for him to come in. Well, I mean, what you got to remember, mate, the Birmingham fans are being pulled through the mud on this because in the Panorama program the other night, he never had a West Ham top on. He had a Birmingham top on all the way through that show. all the way through. Never once did he have.
And I think they've got a bit of history as well, haven't they?
Unfortunately, mate, I
Clive
don't know what it is.
Sheldon. Clive Sheldon was the guy, the QC, that did the report for the Met Police, the independent review. But go above the FA, because it's not just in this country it's happening. It goes to FIFA.
Mate, don't talk to me about him, because I think that's one of the most corrupt societies there is on the planet. And the person where the World Cup is no more, it don't get much more corrupt than what's going on there. But there's three standards, by the way, you've got to have, right, to be a Premier League manager. I've put manager. Sorry, I meant owner.
And it's what?
Yeah, mate. I just think it's going to. Right, Premier League owners, what you must pass: criminal and legal checks, right? No unspent convictions for dishonesty. 1 second. Oh God, it goes on and on. I hope people won't be too bored of us here. Right, just give me no unspent convictions for dishonesty, corruption, violence, drug offences, not been declared bankrupt, not been banned as a company director, not breached football rules. Number 2, football specific bans, not currently banned by FIFA, UEFA, not involved with 2+ clubs, but went into administration, can't own 1 club in the same competition. Money source of funds, must prove source of funds. Premier League government can block if owner fails human rights test used for Saudi and Newcastle. Disclosure. You have to tell the Premier League about businesses, companies you own, about government links if you're state-owned, anyone else at 30%. What's not a requirement? No, there's nothing. There's not much in that. No, there's not. Mate, listen, we're going to finish with this. Do you think... Do you believe, right, that this is just the bottom of the mountain with all the crap that's going to come up about Sullivan?
Yeah. Yes. I think 7 so far have made accusations, haven't they?
That we know of.
7 that we know of. And there'll be more.
Yeah, I mean, mate, we can't discuss certain things that we
No, we can't. But what we can do, we can say what we want for our club, and we want our club to be run not just financially in a proper way. In a
mate, this is a bloke. This is a bloke that's put messages all around the London Stadium with WhatsApp numbers. If someone swears and you don't like it sitting next to you, WhatsApp this number and the person will get slung out the club. This has had people that's been slung out the club because they've been holding banners up. They want him out. The West Ham fans have been doing the Brady. Mate, listen, it's been fascinating. I know you've got to get out. Thanks for doing this. But guys, listen, we all start with ourselves. So if you ever see someone, don't walk past people. If you see them on the street, young girls, and they need something, we all ain't got loads of money, but all of us can do something to help. And as for Sullivan, mate, I hope he's gone as soon as possible.
We have more clout than we think. If there's a group of you and you think something's going on in your football club or your local community, write to your local MP, put it on record and put your names. Just put it, don't make any accusations. Just say, we're concerned about what's happening in this area, or at my football club, or my cricket club, or my tennis club, whatever.
Or my town, Kev.
Or my town,
let's not let these grooming gangs get away with it.
I know. Unfortunately, mate, that runs right to the top. Listen, it's been intriguing. It's been a pleasure. Well, it's not been a pleasure talking about it, really, because we want to talk about positive stuff for West Ham. But I agree. Come on, you irons. Forward.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. Please be respectful. Write in the comments and don't suggest anything in the comments that you're not sure has happened. Take care, guys. Have a great day, Kev. Come on, you irons.
And I look forward.